Well-managed relations between communities and extractive project developers are essential because they lay the foundation for the parties to reconcile their conflicting interests. Interests between project developers and communities often conflict over land right use, water right use, forestry. Communities need land for other economic activities like agriculture. In order for extractive companies to access minerals, often they have to displace communities, and this is where the conflict starts. The same applies offshore. For oil and gas corporations to access oil fields, they often have to compete for marine waters with fishermen. It's important for project developers and communities to come together and find a way to reconcile these differences. To do so, there must first be an understanding of first the nature of the conflict, the potential unintended consequences, both environmentally, economically, and socially. The precursor to that is what is called environmental impact assessment. These studies engage communities, governments, and regulators with a view to establishing the likely negative and positive impact on communities. And to the extent that there is potential negative consequences, the goal is to mitigate these. And this cannot be done without first engaging, consulting, and reaching consensus with the communities. And that is what is commonly known as prior informed consent. Once that consent is reached, then we have what are called environmental management plans. These plans are the tools by which we implement those agreed processes, the tools by which we monitor progress and mitigate any other risks that may become manifest post the study. The way that projects are implemented is critical because it speaks to the balance of benefits between communities and project developers. That said, even with the best will in the world, there's always some element of risk or controversy. In the space of how to compensate communities, one of the questions is how we can balance the interests of communities with those of the nation. Some believe that the rights of communities must be limited to what are called surface rights, which is to say, issues that relate to natural resources above the ground, land, forestry, etc. But that minerals themselves cannot belong to the community, must belong to the whole nation, because otherwise we disenfranchise others, we create inequality, and we might well build in an element of social fragility. Either way, everybody agrees, in order for community relations to be properly managed, in order for projects to go ahead without disruption, project developers must acquire what is called the moral license to operate, which is to say, an environment in which relations with communities are such that communities perceive benefit and therefore welcome the presence of mineral, oil, and gas developers. Without this, we risk disruption and we risk sterilizing economic assets.